we're like, let's see how far we can push just bass and drums. And it's been a wild ride since then, man. Like, holy crap.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hey, how's it going? My name is Marc Bourgon, and I play bass and do some vocals in a band called Greber from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. You can say Greber, though. People say Greber, Greber. That's
well,
me.
when you say Greber, it makes it sound like the word is French. Is the word originally French?
You know what it is? It's a street name from a city in Quebec called Gatineau. And we just kind of like we're just like, hey, what do you think about Greber? We're like, yeah, all right, cool. But I never have the heart to just correct anybody. You can anyone can pronounce it any way they like.
So we're finishing up what I'm calling Grindtember on the Dreams of Consciousness podcast, but there's a lot more to Greber's sound than just grind. How would you describe the music that you make?
It's mainly just something that's really heavy, and that when Steve and I play it, we like laugh because we're like, wow, that's cool. Cool guy metal. Usually, yeah, like we like all different sorts of stuff. It's kind of like a mishmash of any band that we're kind of into at the moment. So it's liberating at the same time as it is confusing, but we definitely have grind elements. But I know in the past people have been like, you guys are in grindcore? Like, this isn't grind at all. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, we're trying here.
So you mentioned your bandmate, Steve Vargas. It should be pointed out that when we talk about Greber sound, there's basically just the two of you. There's Steve playing drums and yourself doing vocals and playing bass, and that's it.
That's it, man. Just us.
I should also mention that Greber has been on Dreams of Consciousness before. We did a Q&A back in 2018. People can check that out, but for anyone who hasn't read that, do you want to mention briefly how the band came together and why the two of you decided to just leave it as a duo with yourself playing bass and no guitarist?
It was pretty organic. We were just, Steve and I played in this band called Tugnut, and it was a 3-piece, and our guitar player was kind of like, yeah, I'm over this. This sucks. So decided to, pursue other endeavors. And Steve and I were kind of like, hey man, you want to still like make music? And he was like, yeah, I do. So we're like, let's see what we can do. Let's see how much fun we can squeeze out of just hanging out together and playing shows. Cause we had been in a band. We loved doing that. So we're like, let's see how far we can push just bass and drums. And it's been a wild ride since then, man. Like, holy crap.
So I understand the reasoning behind you and Steve sticking together. A partnership worked. But what led you to decide to just remain as a duo and forego guitars?
I don't know. There wasn't any real, like, we were just like, let's just, the main sort of nucleus of the band is just, I love Steve and he loves me, and we just love hanging out, and we're just buds. So I'm sure if at the time there was a friend who like lived close and was like, yo, let's hang out and let's like, I play guitar, like let's play in a band, we'd have been like, oh shit, let's just grab fucking Buddy and get him to play guitar. But at the time it was just us just wanting to be road dogs. And yeah, it wasn't like, hey, we didn't really have like a master vision of like, it's gotta only be bass and drums. It's just like, just kind of, yeah, there was no real sort of like overarching sort of design to it.
So the bass in heavy music is often, it occupies a weird space, especially in metal, because you've got down-tuned guitars, you've got double bass drumming. A lot of times it gets squashed between those elements. Was it freeing to just be the bass player and not have to accommodate one or two other guitarists?
Not, you know what? Not really. I like, having just even if there was another bass guitar, just having two melodic elements being able to like play off each other or against each other, it goes a long way for music. Like, I'm envious of 3-pieces because, just having that sort of like, you can build some different sort of melodic tension, but when it's just one stringed instrument and that stringed instrument happens to be a bass guitar, you're definitely limited with what you can do. But we've kind of just made it work, and it's been so long doing it. I think we're running out of ideas for like what to do. It's so, it's got to be so primal and so straight to the point. Like, had I had done it all over again, maybe I would have just started playing guitar and just had like an octave pedal that tuned it down, because then you can at least do some like high noodly stuff. But here we are. So no, I don't like, it's not like a freeing thing to be like, sweet, no guitar players, now it's my turn. I'm always like, oh, I wish there was like some guitar players to like, do some sick like Iron Maiden harmonies. I don't know.
Maybe we can get you a custom double-necked bass and guitar setup so that you can loop the bass parts and then do some noodly stuff on top of that.
Well, why only double-necked? I might as well get the Michelangelo Baccio 4-necked. I want the 4. It'll be a 12-string. Wait, maybe a 3-neck, because I can't think of a fourth. Like a 12-string, a 6-string, and then a bass. What would the fourth one be, though? I don't know. Electric banjo, like Bella Fleck. The world's most annoying instrument. I'm into it. I think we're onto something, man.
When it's time to sit down and write music, how does that usually happen? Do the two of you guys head to the rehearsal space and jam out some music, or do you come in with ideas worked out and arrangements already planned?
It's most of the time I'll come to the rehearsal space with like some skeletal, loose, very non-committal ideas and riffs and whatnot, and then we'll kind of like piece those together. Sometimes I'll have like a demo with some drums and whatnot that's like a bit more structured, but I'm always slow to send the drums to Steve because he'll always hear it in a different way and come up with like something wildly different. And I always feel is like a lot better the way that he'll hear the riff and whatnot. And even before that, usually it's like I've got like a notepad and I'll write stuff down. And usually it starts as like either a sentence or an idea or like a question or something. And that's usually like the North Star for any song. Just like have an idea or have just like a couple words mashed together and be like, all right, let's try and build something around this, just so it has like a bit of a cohesive sort of like feeling all the way through. But yeah, then it's mainly, especially with this record, with this Fright Without record, we spend a lot of time practicing at the hall and just really like letting the songs sort of evolve through us playing them a billion times. And I'm really stoked with how that affected the songs in the end.
And we'll speak about Fright Without in more detail in a bit. I'm curious, the words on the notepad, are they feelings? Are they, like a general feel for like what you want a part to be or what you want a song to be? Or is it a little bit more detailed than that?
It's here. I'll pull up. Actually, I just wrote something on my phone. Let me see. Get the raw. You can steal it away. I don't know. Like, oh, yeah. Here's one. Barren Cloth Mother. I wrote down based on that like experiment that they did with monkeys, and there was like, there was like this steel monkey, fake. Monkey mother surrogate that would like give the monkeys food. And then there was another one that was like soft and cuddly, but didn't give out any sort of like food pellets. It didn't have any sort of like food dispensing system. And the monkeys would always just like be drawn to the one that was like cuddly and soft, even though it gave them no food. So I would literally just take that barren cloth mother thing and just like be like, all right, let me just like think about that for 10 minutes and then start writing a riff. Maybe that's like a really stupid way to write songs, but hey, I don't know. That's kind of how I do it, man. That way I'm like constantly thinking about this one singular thing the whole time.
So it's almost like a feeling or a I don't know how else to say it, like a feeling that you're trying to get across based on these keywords.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's it, man. That's 100% it. Just like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know what that feeling is. Like, I know what it is when it starts up, but maybe when I'm writing the song, it'll change. And maybe it'll be like, maybe there'll be another feeling or another thing that I think of. And then maybe from there, at the end, it'll be completely about something totally different. But I don't know. That's usually just the first breadcrumb of many. Yeah.
And you and Steve share the vocals, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we both do our fair share of hooting and hollering.
Do you break it down like one of you guys does lower vocals and one of you guys does higher vocals?
I think it's just mainly based on our voice types. Like his is a lot higher than mine. And yeah, but once again, it was just organic. We weren't like, all right, you be the high guy and I'll be the low guy. And yeah, we're just kind of like, hey, scream your face off. Okay. Sounds low. Nice. That's it.
Now, when you're playing live and you've got you've also got the bass, and the bass is doing a lot of the work. Do you find yourself having to simplify things either for the vocals or for the bass playing?
We try not to, but there are times when one of us, mainly me, I'll be like, man, I can't sing and play this part. Can you do the vocals? And Steve will be like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. And then we'll just kind of impromptu switch it up. But we try not to alter stuff too much. Yeah, the music never usually gets altered. It's just like, hey, I'm doing some really busy stuff on the drums. Can you do this vocal part? Or I'm really doing some busy shit here. We should probably like practice or play them before we record them so we can be like, I can actually do this live, but no such luck.
Are there songs that significantly change because of what happens when you play them live?
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like we'll just be like, hey, let's do this. You know, let's add a pause or add a choke or draw something out or slop something up or they don't involve that much. A little nip and tuck here and there, you know, we're not fucking Fish, but we're not like going into big Pearl Jam-esque feel-goody jams, but yeah, they definitely change over time a little bit here and there.
So let's talk about Fright Without. Fright Without is the name of your fourth full-length album, and at the time that we're having this conversation, it was officially released a few days ago. When did you actually start working on this?
We started working on it shortly after our last record came out in 2018. We got pretty much right back on the horse and started writing some new material. So yeah, like 2018, started writing and then wrote. And then at one point, I think it was late 2019, we were just like, all right, let's book some studio time, because if we don't, we're just going to be writing perpetually. So let's like cut it off here. And we booked the time for April of 2020. Yeah, exactly. Right. And then obviously blah, 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 the pandemic hit, but we still, I think we pushed it off like a little bit. I think we still went in April, but we were all, I don't need to explain it. Everyone was like sketched out, but we were kind of like, you know what? I think we can do this. We still remember the songs, it was a big enough studio that we could go in, wear masks, stay away from each other, and like sanitize the shit out of everything. And so, yeah, we recorded it in like the thick of the fear-stricken pandemic. And yeah, so so that was 2020. And then, yeah, I think we got it mixed a year later by Kurt Ballou and then mastered around the same time. So that was 2021. And then sent to the presses around then. And we just got it, a couple of months ago. There was like a 14-month, period of it getting pressed on the vinyl, which was fucking ridiculous. But this is the world we live in, man. And now it's out. And it was 4 years. So yeah, it feels good, man. It feels really good that it's out and you can buy it, and I don't have to worry about it until the next one. So,
and we'll speak about Kurt and the other people who were involved in the recording and mixing and mastering of the album. As far as the writing goes, you mentioned you had actually started working on this on the heels of Cemetery Preston, which was your 2018 release. Did you go into this album wanting to do anything different or try new things?
Kind of, but not any more so than usual. Like we're always trying to do new stuff and be a bit fearless and daring with what we're doing. And that was pretty much the goal. I think actually one of the main things was like, we wanted to make it like a lot more organic. Like Cemetery Preston, we had like a click track for the whole thing. And it was like, it was like kind of like industry bullshit. But this one, we didn't have a click track. And that's something that we really wanted to do. Just let the thing fluctuate and breathe. And yeah, other than that, like there was no real sort of like idea or sort of path that we thought of. It just kind of like revealed itself over time, which I think is a really sweet thing with making music.
And you had some guests on this album, right?
Yeah, we had our good friend Kevin Keegan, who plays in Dead Quiet and also played in Barn Burner. He did some clean vocals at the end of a song called Fabricated Purpose, which was awesome of him to do that. And my dear friend Mathieu Villandre, who played drums in Fuck the Facts, he did some clean guitars on the end of Larkinitis. And yeah, another good friend, Scott Miller, he did some guitars and some vocals. And my friend Nate did some noise. Yeah, there was like a decent amount of collaboration. Oh yeah, and Sean Pearson, the guy who recorded the drums, he did some like drones and some other like layers and textures and synths and whatnot. So
now, with the complications with recording, were the guest contributors able to come into the studio, or did they record their parts remotely?
Everyone did their stuff remotely, which is probably what we would have done anyways, only because like Kevin lives in Vancouver and Vil lives in Ottawa, and everyone kind of lives in their own world. So I would just send them a track and just tell them, go to town, do your thing. And it was all done remote.
So you mentioned Sean Pearson, who you've worked with before as an engineer. He recorded the drums, but you recorded your parts in your own studio, right?
Yes. The bass and the vocals and a couple other little guitar noodles. Yeah, I recorded at our jam hall that I gave the handle of MOX Audio, which is short for most expensive audio. I recorded a band years ago, and my friend was like, you should call this Most Expensive Studios. And I was like, all right, because I think I was doing it for beer or something. So I was like, most expensive, eh? It's got a ring to it. But yeah, no, I did have a lot of help, mainly from Kurt and my friend Scott Miller, just sending them bass tones and being like, man, does this sound all right? Like, am I going crazy? Am I going deaf? Please help me. And they were like, no, it sounds okay. Record it. And yeah, that was recording the bass.
And we should talk about your bass tone, because you have a very specialized setup to get the full sound that Greber has. Do you want to mention a little bit about how you achieve that sound?
Yeah, sure, man. On record, I would track the there's pretty much just like two kind of like signals going on, or two sort of like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. I would track the sort of higher frequency bass, the same bass, but just like played through a guitar amp, kind of the guitar bass. I would do that 4 times. So there'd be like 2 performances on the left side and 2 performances on the right side. And then right up the middle, I would record like a bass sound through like an SVT that was more like, that was just up the middle. So essentially the song got played like 5 times just so it had like that fullness. So I guess that's on record. Live, I've got 2 Marshall 412s and 2 Ampeg 810s. And then, kind of the same thing. There's like a higher frequency guitar-y, distortion-y signal that goes through the guitar cabs. And then there's a more like low, more like traditional bass tone that goes through the bass cabs. And that's pretty much it.
Live, you do a lot of splitting, right? Like in the studio, you can do overdubs, but live, you have to split the signal a bunch of times.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same split. Like I've got like a distortion pedal into like a 5150, and that feeds the guitar cabs. And then I've got like a Boss ODB overdrive, and then I split that into 2 SVT heads that one powers like 1 per 810.
Let's talk about the people who you got to help you with the recording. How did Kurt get involved with this?
I worked with him a while back on. I have this kind of like project called Cancelled, where I got him to mix 3 songs for that. So we had like kind of had a relationship doing that before, and we were just like, we had played a bunch of shows and we had saved up a bit of cash, and we were kind of like, man, let's just go for it. Let's just try and see if Kurt would be willing to mix the record. Because both Steve and I are like huge fans of his music and his production. So we reached out and we were like, when's going to work? Like, do you have time? Would you be interested? And he's like, yeah, no, I'm totally down. And we just booked it up, and he just went to town.
Now, was there something specific you wanted Kurt to bring to your sound, which is why you wanted to work with him? Yeah,
pretty much just, just his ear and his know-how, and make it just sound like insanely huge. Like, and, he's been doing it forever, and he knows his way around. So like try and figure out exactly what he needed and what kind of like we were interested in achieving with it. But at the end of the day, he totally got it. We did like a bunch of back and forth revisions, and he was totally cool with like, he got it right away. He like knew what was up, and there was very few sort of tweaks that it needed to be awesome. So
yeah, the sound is impressively huge throughout. I mean, not just for the bass sound, but for the album as a whole. I mean, I'm assuming that Kurt, as a, you know, he's extremely knowledgeable as a studio engineer, and so was he giving you feedback as far as like what to do when you're recording on your end?
Oh, for sure. Like I think it was a couple days before I started tracking the bass. I sent him like a couple samples. Like I just threw up every microphone I had and, you know, used a couple different heads and a couple different pedals. I think I maybe sent him like 4 or 5 different sort of variations. I was like, hey, which one of these is going to like work best for you? And he's like, oh, give me some of this and a little bit of that. And so he definitely helped in whittling down the equipment that I was going to send or going to use to track. And yeah, with the drums, he's got a pretty like, before he mixes, or, you know, yeah, before when you're in the process of like talking to him, he's got like a kind of one sheet that he's like, hey, you want to send me something to mix? Here's a bunch of stuff that I would really, really, really like on your end. And it's super thorough, and, you know, kick mics. This is the kind of kick drum I want. Maybe 2 mics, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a very thorough sort of walkthrough of the technical sort of stuff that he's looking to get, which is totally, totally cool. Cause like, you don't want to just send the guy like a bunch of garbage and be like, all right, make this sound like a Kurt Ballou record. He'd be like, well, I can't, because this sounds like dog shit. So he's very particular, as he should be, you know, in what you send him. So, but yeah, no. And he was good. Like I said, we spoke on the phone a couple times and just sort of like brainstormed some ideas, and super, super lovely dude. Like, man, what was I doing? Oh, I think I like asked him just a random question years ago. I was like, hey, what pedal you use for this? And like within like 10 minutes, he got back to me. He's like, oh, hey, how's it going, man? Glad you like that part. Here's what I used. And he sent it from his iPhone in 10 minutes. Just some dipshit kid who's like, yo, man, what pedal is that? Like, this guy's probably busy as hell, but he's still like, man, it's better than me. I can't do that.
Burning
So, as you mentioned, the album was mixed by Brad Boatwright. I understand Kurt likes to work with Brad or send his mixes to Brad to have Brad master them. But you've actually worked with Brad before, right?
Yeah, I think we've worked with him on almost every release except for our first one. Like, yeah, he's just I don't know, he's super good. Like, that being said, I've never really tried anyone else, so I don't know. I think I've never just needed to go anywhere else. It's just like, yeah, send it to Brad. He'll make it loud. He'll make it sound huge, and it'll work on a bunch of different stereos. So I've never, yeah. Brad Boatwright at Audio Siege is the fucking man.
I mean, his name comes up on this podcast a lot, and he's one of the people who've been shaping in my opinion, has been shaping the sound of heavy music for the past decade or so. I mean, it sounds like between Kurt and Brad, you've got a couple of very. I mean, I don't really know either of those guys. I've never spoken with them, but it sounds like if there's like a maximalist type of studio engineer and a minimalist, both of those guys are more on the minimal side. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so, man. That's definitely the aesthetic that we like. You know, you could, you know, I know what you mean by the maximalist, like the gent, you know, people who are like completely editing every little slice of something. But I you know, maybe we're just old. We like that like organic, you know, fatness and rawness and realness, but also mixed with a bit of like studio trickery. I don't know. It's a weird mix. I don't want it to sound like Periphery, but then again, I don't want it to sound like, I don't know, Craft. Somewhere between Craft and Periphery is where we want to be sonically.
I'm sure Kurt would be pretty happy with Craft. I heard he's a big fan.
Is he actually?
That's what one of my buddies told me. One of my buddies is from Massachusetts, and he said that Kurt was talking about Craft a lot.
Craft is sick, man. I love that shit.
Yeah. In terms of studio trickery, there are some added elements to this album that I don't think I've ever heard from your music before. You mentioned some of the synth parts that I believe you said Sean added.
Yeah, he added some, and I added a few. It was like a pretty even split of this and that, like with the sort of like weirder melodic elements. That's just us running out of ideas and being like, I don't know what to do here, man. Maybe we should add like a little fucking noise. Maybe make it sound a bit, you know, more melodic. Add some sort of like uneasiness to the part, which is fun, but we try and do it as minimally as possible. But I could see that changing in the future, just because I don't know. It's fun to have that sort of like I said, I think we're just out of caveman ideas on how to like make bass and drums work without adding something a bit more exciting into it for us personally.
So you started working on this album shortly after Cemetery Preston was released. Do you want to speculate on what the next Greber album might sound like?
Yeah, I think it'll be you know what? I'm going to eat my words, and you can play this back to me when the next one comes out and be like, we have a clip of you saying this shit, and here you are not following through at all. It'll probably be like more, it'll probably be more melodic and like more, it'll probably be slower. But I said that last time, and this one's like fast, even faster. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. We're always like, Steve and I are always like, all right, let's write like a 3-beer album that we can like play after we drank 3 beers, AKA it's fucking easy to play. And then this fucking album, like it's the fucking hardest shit we've ever written. I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing, but I hope it's easier, and I hope it's like a bit more melodic, and I hope it's just as weird as the rest of our records.
So by the time people hear this podcast, well, actually, even as we're having this conversation, Fright Without is out. Mark, do you want to tell people how they can order the album?
Yep, absolutely. We have the easiest way if you're a fan of plinking and plonking and typing into your computer. We have like a link tree with every sort of place you can order it, which is linktr and then .ee and then /Greber. And it's got all the like links because there's a label in Europe, a couple labels in Europe, label in the States, a couple in Canada. So that's probably the easiest. Second easiest is just Google Greber Bandcamp and you can order it from us, but the shipping might be a bit easier through the link tree depending on where you are.
So you mentioned that you've partnered with some labels for the physical releases of the album. Do you want to mention what those releases will be? What the different formats will be?
Yeah, we have LP records. They're like red. We have some opaque as well as translucent copies. We have cassettes, and we've also got a limited edition cassette. It's got some wild and wacky artwork and some sparkly tapes. And we also have CD available, coupled with the obvious digital download.
And if people want to follow Greber online, what's the best way to do that?
Our Instagram is Greber Metal, and I believe that our Facebook is both the same. We don't have a TikTok or a Twitter, but not for any good reason. We just don't have them. Nothing against. No disrespect to TikTok or Twitter.
So we spoke about the future of Greber, but in the near future, you have some dates coming up.
Yep. We're playing Montreal this weekend, Montreal and Ottawa this weekend. And you know what? It's probably easier if you just look them up because I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to sound like a complete fucking waterhead if I'm like, we're playing on let me check. I don't know. Just,
No worries. I think most of the dates will be over by the time people hear this podcast, but you have a few dates in October that people in Ontario can check out, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think October 7th is in Windsor, and then October 14th is in Hamilton. And yeah, I believe that's it. That's kind of the end of our run of dates. Plus, I know we're playing in Toronto with Ken Mode in November, but I don't have the date in front of me. Toronto Ken Mode, it's like a Wednesday or Tuesday or something. So specific. Use the internet. You people know how to do it.
Are you looking forward to getting back on the road and doing some more touring?
No. I think those days are behind me, man. I can't do it anymore. It'd be fun, but mainly just, if we go on tour, we're going to go to Europe for sure. Because if you play like a bunk ass show in fucking Europe, at least you can go outside and look around and be like, wow, I'm in a really cool place. Not like, wow, I'm in fucking Dayton, Ohio. Great. Let's go to fucking, Carl's Jr. Like, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, I don't think we're going to tour, man. We're too human now.
Do you have a theoretical timeline for when you want the next album to come out? Or is it just whenever you have a new batch of songs that you want to get out?
Oh, don't stress me out, man. I just really you're like getting me to commit to dates. No, I don't know. Yeah, well, just whenever it comes out. Like I said, it's all just Steve and I being friends and having fun and trying to like do some kick-ass shit. So we're not really like stressed about when it's going to come out or if it comes out or whatever, man. Like, I feel like 4 years isn't bad. I'm not like, oh, I wish it would come out sooner next. No, that's fine. It'll come out when it comes out. We're not like, our careerist epoch has long since passed. It's all just like fun now. So, yeah, maybe 4 years. Let's say 4 years. Hold me to that.
Cool. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thanks so much for having me on, Adrian. That was a wicked time.